Well, hello and welcome back to our reading of Paul's epistle to the Romans. We've made it up to verse 8 now, and so we'll start here. Proton men ευχαριστώ το Θεό διά Ιησού Χριστού, περιπάντων ημών ότι πίστης ημών καταγγέλλεται εν όλο το κόσμο. Okay, so he's finished off his introductory salutation. Now he's moved on to his Thanksgiving section. And the Thanksgiving section is in verses 8 through 13. And then he's going to begin his letter body, 8 through 12, and then he begins his letter body with this disclosure formula here in verse 13, indicating that he's moving to the opening section of his letter body. And so let's start here then in verse 8, where we have the beginning of that Thanksgiving section. Proton men ευχαριστώ το Θεό μου. Okay, so firstly, first, on the one hand, okay, so this is perhaps difficult to translate, so let's kind of look over this sentence real quick. So first, and then men is usually, the reason I said let's look over this sentence is because usually men is followed by a men and de construction, but I don't see a de here. And so what that means is that this is not, so usually if it were men and de, it would be first, on the one hand, I give thanks to my God, and then perhaps a de would appear here or something, and he'd say, but on the other hand, and then something else. But here, men is not functioning as a, on the one hand, on the other hand type of a construction. It's functioning rather as emphatic. So it would be first, I indeed give thanks to my God, and then the agent through which he does this is through Jesus the Messiah. Through Jesus the Messiah, about all y'all, because, so peripanton is concerning all, and then second person plural pronoun is y'all, and this is also genitive, concerning all of y'all, because, so the reason, hoti is indicating a purpose clause, or the purpose again, so because the faith of you, that is, because y'all's faith, and then the present tense conveys a continuous aspect here, so it's your faith is being proclaimed, it's being announced, and holotokosmo, okay, the sphere. This is the dative of sphere. So it is being proclaimed, it is being announced or reported, perhaps, in the whole world, or to the whole world, perhaps, is one way to take that. Now, this could be taken either as a hyperbole, because certainly it's not, or maybe it is, but it seems a bit emphatic for him to say that it's being proclaimed in the whole world. But on the other hand, I would note that when events happened in Rome, they were proclaimed throughout the entirety of the empire. So by whole world, he may very well be referring to just the empire there, Rome, in which case it would be true, because their faith is most certainly being proclaimed throughout the entirety of that empire. But then, moving on to verse 9, martuskar mu est in hoteos, holatrevo en to pneumatimu, en to evangeliu, to you of two. Okay, so for God, now how did I know that? How did I know that God is the subject here? Because you'll notice that the sigma ending indicates that that's the nominative case. Well, nominative indicates subject, right? And then, but the problem is we have a nominative right here as well. Well, this is a predicate nominative. So what we're seeing is for, and then the nominative which has the article in front of it is the subject. And then if one doesn't have the article and they're both anarthrous, then you have to go by word order. But here we have the article, so we know that this is our subject, And then this is called the predicate nominative. It's functioning as the direct object, but it's nominative. It is a predicate nominative. So for God is my witness. So this is his attestation formula. So for God is my witness, God, whom I serve, latrevo, I serve in my spirit. Now, and can be taken as a dative of instrument. So, or perhaps an instrumental dative, explaining just how he serves. He serves him with his spirit. And this may be almost an idiom, like when you say something, if I were to say, I did something with all of my heart, or I put my heart into something, I'm saying I did something wholeheartedly. Or if I say that I did something perhaps with my spirit, with my whole soul, then I may be saying that I did something wholeheartedly. And so what he's saying here is that he serves God wholeheartedly in the gospel. But namely, it's in the gospel of his Son. Now this may be a genitive of an objective genitive, the gospel with the with his Son as the object, right? And so, or it could be again a genitive of source, and we saw a similar construction up here in those first few verses, but here we're encountering a similar idea here. So in the gospel, which comes from his Son. That could be the way of taking it if it's a genitive of source. However, if it's a genitive, if it's an objective genitive, it'd be in the gospel about his Son. Now, this is picking up on for God is my witness. And so he's saying so let's repeat this again then. For God is my witness. Then where that, so hos is usually used with the sense of as, like or as, but here it's indicating discourse content. So he's saying he's his witness that without fail, without ceasing, adialiptos, dialipo means to fail, and so adialipo means to not fail. And then this omega sigma ending is adverbial, and so it's saying without fail, or in an unfailing manner. I am making. This is present tense, continuous aspect. I am actively, continually making remembrance. There's our object. So that without fail, I am making remembrance of y'all always. So we have a temporal phrase then. So always in my prayers. Okay, let's slow down for a second. So God is my witness, he says, and then he has a brief sort of side comment, whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel about his Son, that I am making without fail, or without ceasing perhaps, remembrance of y'all always upon. Now epi, upon, is used here in the sense of in. So always in my prosefkon. So prosefkon is a prayer. So then always in my prayers. And then we have a participle here, deomenos. Now, deomenos here is making requests. Making requests if perchance. So making requests if in any way already at some time euodotesome. So that's quite the word. So let's go back a little bit. So always in my prayers, making requests, if in any way already at some time I would be made, I would be prospered. Now Yuodotesome. Let me write that root word down on a piece of paper, because this comes from a fairly simple this comes from yuodo'o, and I would note that it's really just a mix of two words here. And so yuodo'o is literally good journey, to be of good journey. And so then here, where am I? Verse 10, I think. So yuodotesome. So if we kind of look at how this word is formed, then good, and then there's our yuodo, and then notice the te. Te is making it passive. The sigma, when I'm looking at the future, what do I see? I see a sigma there looking right back at me. And then ome, this ending here, is the first person plural, and it is also passive. And so what we're looking at then is yuodo in the future passive form, and so how it would be translated is it'd be that I may be of good journey, but it may be used with the sense of to prosper, right? And so he's saying I'm making requests, of course, in his prayers always, if in some way already at some point I may be prospered only by the will of God, I may be prospered by the will of God to come to y'all. So the lemati means will, wish, desire, something like that. And so by the will of God, by God's will, possessive, genitive, to come, complementary infinitive, to come to y'all. So this is his visit wish formula that he gives in his Thanksgiving. And then verse 11, pipato ga idin himos hinati metado charisma himin pneumatikon is tosteriktene himos. Okay, so he's saying, for I long to see. So for I long, and then this word is followed by a complementary infinitive again. And so for, explaining, why does he want to come to them? Well, because, or for, I am longing, I'm eagerly longing to see y'all. I'm longing to see y'all. Why? Well, in order that I might share, metado, this comes from metadidomi, this is the subjunctive form. Subjunctive is followed quite often by the hina is followed quite often by a subjunctive. So this is not uncommon here. So metado comes from metadidomi. Didomi means to give. Meta means, well, perhaps with or change, depending on the word it's compounded with. But here it means to share, or perhaps to I think share would be just the best way of rendering that one. So in order that I might share some spiritual gift with y'all. Let's go through that one more time. For I am eagerly longing to see y'all in order that I might share some spiritual gift. Charisma is, you see that root word grace, so it's a free gift. It's got that root charis in it. So spiritual gift to y'all or with y'all. And then the purpose of that gift is to strengthen y'all. So this is where Greek and English infinitives do not really line up very well. And so we have to try to conceive of this in Greek and then form it in our minds in English. So, isto steriktene yimas. So for, now, I would just, let's look at this infinitive then. So sterictene comes from sterizo, and sterizo means either to strengthen or to establish. It means to something like that. And so the idea is that they would be firmly founded, probably. And so, but it would mean strengthening, but it has the sense of being established behind it as well. So sterizo would mean to I strengthen, but sterictene, notice this is infinitive, and then this is passive, and then we have an article. So the article pretty much cancels out that infinitive idea, and it just makes it a noun. This is a nominalizer. The article is functioning as a nominalizer. That is, it makes the infinitive to strengthen a noun. So the strengthening is the way that you'd say that. But then now we have a problem, because it says for the strengthening, y'all. Okay. So then what we can conceive of this as is isto plus an infinitive is really equivalent to hina plus the subjunctive, like we saw up here. It's just a different way of sort of wording it. So for, or we could say in order that, y'all would be strengthened. Or perhaps for y'all's strengthening or establishment, something like that. So then, verse 12, tuto de estin sum parakletene en yimin diates en alelis pistos yimin te ke emu. And that's the end of the Thanksgiving section. So he says, and this is, so what he's doing here is he's explaining it further. It's like if I were to say something and then I say, and that is, and then give an explanatory comment. Well, he's explaining what does he mean by spiritual gifts, and what does he mean by, their strengthening. Well, what he means is this. So he says, that is, even though it's this is, in English we'd say that is. It'd make a little more sense that way for us. So that is, sum parakletene means parakletene. Notice that, so let's take out the sum and just get parakletene. Now, what does parakletene come from? Well, it comes from parakaleo, right? And so kaleo, there's that root to call, and then parakaleo means to exhort, or in this case, it means to encourage. But it's passive, so it means to be encouraged. And so there's the infinitive, passive infinitive, to be encouraged, but then it's not just to, that is, to be encouraged, it is to be encouraged in sum. Sum, it can mean with or together, meaning together here. And so it has the sense of, that is, to be encouraged together with y'all, through y'all's mutual faith. Mutual is how I'd render that, because it's talking, what he's saying is that faith which is which you have among one another. You have, because it's a faith that everyone has. So it's a mutual faith. It's a faith that they all have among each other. And so he's saying that, and that is to be encouraged to be encouraged together, either with you or by you, or probably with you, through y'all's faith, y'all's mutual faith, and then both. Okay, so I missed that one. Both y'all's mutual faith and my. So he's saying that this te and ke, usually te is put forward a bit more, but here it finds itself at the very end, where it's probably a last minute comment that he's added here. So he's saying, by that we would be encouraged together through y'all's mutual faith, and then at the last moment he says, but not just y'all's, both y'all's and mine. And then he enters into his disclosure formula here. This is quite a common formula of Paul's to indicate that he's moving into his body, the main body of his letter, where he says, I don't want you to be ignorant, or I want you to know. That appears in Galatians 1:11, I want to say, either 1:11 or 1:12, and then it appears also in Philippians 1:12. I know that one for sure. But here he says, now I do not wish for y'all to be ignorant, brethren, that many times pro ethemin eltin prosimos. Many times I have planned to come to y'all, but, contrastive conjunction, but I was hindered until devro, which means until now, in order that I might have some fruit also among you, just as also I have implied among the remaining nations or Gentiles. I suppose we can stop here and pick it up in the next video, as we've made it to about 20 minutes now.